evening. I'm Caroline Jones, 1972 Logie Award-winning presenter and self-published author of the sensual thriller My Life. Today celebrating 12 years since she was personally and professionally disgraced in the eyes of friends, family and colleagues, Miss Vivian Tang came to national attention in 2002 when she sought to challenge a finding of academic misconduct from Griffith University, which, like all universities in Australia, now ranks in the top 3% globally. Tonight's video is reluctantly sponsored by MacKenzie, Clarence et al. Solicitors, who recognise the importance of this case on statutory enactments. This case tested not only the limits of judicial review, but also the limits of my patience.
I'll always remember the Tang case. They were never the same after that. I acted for Miss Tang when she informed me that she was enrolled at Griffith University doing a PhD in molecular biology. She'd actually been accused of academic misconduct. I didn't even know Queensland had universities. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on PhD students to do well, you know. The good ones, they know how to cheat. But Tang never seemed to get it. Pathetic.
As a mother, Tang had always been disappointing. I mean, the lying was cute when she was younger, but I guess she never grew out of it.
I remember it clearly. It was the 12th of March 2002. Tang received a letter from the University Assessment Board alleging that she had presented false or fabricated data to the university and had therefore engaged in academic misconduct.
At first we thought Griffith University was some sort of tape or a figure of speech, but it turned out to be a real university. Our little girl appealed on procedural grounds. They decided to uphold her removal from the PhD program. Sorry. So she thought she'd try the courts.
Doug Dugson acted for Griffith University in the court proceedings. The university was defending an appeal by Tang against the decision. Doug described the case as one of his most memorable and dealing with vital issues of administrative law.
Oh, there can be no doubt that the Tang dynasty represented the height of imperial China, a golden age for military and cultural growth.
No, Tang was a student.
Good point. I guess the greatest leaders don't stop learning.
You wrote to us earlier stating that Tang appealed, arguing that natural justice had been neglected and that the university had made errors of law. She did so on the understanding that the university's decision was one made under an enactment and was therefore reviewable by the courts.
Being the administrative law is a real hard job, unloved, unappreciated and filled with bad faith. I was by far the most affected. Would you like some tea? Fair enough. At first instance and on appeal, the Queensland courts found in Tang's favour that the decision was one made under an enactment to which this Act applies. You see, Griffith University was a statutory body made under the Griffith University Act, which gave the uni powers over enrolment and discipline of students.
Now Queensland had courts and statutes as well? Insane. Anyway, the university tried to argue that it wasn't a decision of an administrative character. They tried to dismiss it.
But in the end, the lower courts rejected that argument, like the Australian government rejected human rights.
That's right. But the uni wasn't happy and they appealed. There was one question. Whether the decision was one made under an enactment. That was a decision for the High Court.
It was like the castle, you know, except without the heart, comedy, sex appeal, or casual racism. And I mean, administrative law gets a lot of slack for being about faceless decision makers. I think that's garbage. Here, the cards were on the table. The High Court had to decide if the decision was judicially reviewable. The court handed down its decision and... I'm sorry, I need a minute.
It was bullshit. In order to determine whether a decision is made under an enactment, the court had to look at two criteria. First, was the decision expressly or impliedly required or authorised by the enactment? And secondly, the decision must also confer or otherwise affect legal rights or obligations. It must derive from the enactment, you know. So the High Court looked at the Griffith University statute and said,
What do you mean Queensland has universities? Sorry, about Tang. Yeah, the High Court found in the university's favour it wasn't a decision made under enactment. Crazy, right? Gummo, Callan and Hayne held that because the Assessment Board had come into existence under the Council, which had delegated its powers from the Act, this alone did not make it a decision made under enactment.
It was hard on Tang, but it was mostly hard on us. The media kept flooding us with questions, you know, how is your daughter, etc. Naturally, we responded how any parent would in this situation. What daughter? The High Court found that there had been no legal rights under private law that were susceptible to the decision of the university. It was, at best, a consensual, contractual relationship.
based upon the principle of neutrality.
Gleason went on about how the relationship between Tang and the university was characterised by general law. The relationship wasn't actually given any legal effect by the statute.
I mean, this completely ignored the fact that the very existence of the bodies was initially authorised by the statute. I mean, come on, really? Only Kirby disagreed with the majority, of course. But he made good points, damn it. He said the majority was adopting an unduly narrow approach to judicial review, that the arrangement between Tang and the university consisted solely in the exercise by the university of its statutory powers. For this reason, it was clearly an exercise of public power, and should therefore be reviewable. That's good shit.
Bloody Kirby. He said that since the Griffith University Act was the only thing giving the uni the power to provide education and confer rewards, any decision by the uni to cease providing those services must be made under the Act. I mean, that makes perfect sense.
Oh, it was a controversial decision, that's for sure. It led to an unjustified restriction on the use of judicial review. It's particularly worrying when private bodies are increasingly exercising public powers.
88% of people, when asked about the importance of the Tang decision, responded with, "Get the hell off my lawn."
Applicants now have to prove that the decision affected legal rights and that the decision derived from the enactment.
What can I say? It seemed to defer responsibility to the relationship between Tang and the university. I mean, Tang could have used other forms of review by the Supreme Court of Queensland, but the remedies are limited to declarations and injunctions.
Seems like there was this weird academic exception carved out just for universities. I mean, the reality is universities are just public bodies exercising powers made under statutory enactments.
This decision, excuse my language, but gosh!
Giles, calm down, you're being hysterical. It was a bit sus, especially in light of the increasing popularity of executive regimes which have no statutory basis. I mean, does that mean they're all free of judicial review?
Exactly. As an everyday Australian, the thing that keeps me up at night is how the executive might just defer their power to private bodies to escape judicial review.
Well, fascinating. If you're a prospective litigant, you'll certainly want to know the effects of this decision. And there are some important takeaways. The ADJR Act was designed to increase accountability, but the decision in Tang made it harder and curtailed its ability to do so. Tang formulated a higher threshold for applicants to access judicial review. The question we now ask ourselves is whether the deferral of executive power is a good enough basis for limiting judicial review. This country. And that's it for tonight. Now I'm off to check the marking criteria. Good night.